Hey y'all, it's Bridget, the Museum Stitcher, here on Flosstube, but also over on Instagram, Ravelry, and Goodreads. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, this is my little corner of the internet where I talk about my crafting life, mostly about cross stitch. Today I have a lot of cross stitch and some books to share. So if you're someone who enjoys crafty content, bookish content, I hope you stick around and like and subscribe and click that little bell to get notified every time I post. And if you're returning, welcome back. Thanks for coming back. It's been about 3 weeks since I last filmed a regular Flosstube, but I did put out a kit parade in the meantime. Lately, it's just been working better for me to do every 3 weeks, so I hope you guys don't mind, but it does mean that I have a lot of progress to share. Today I have a couple framed finishes. My friend Carrie of Tiger Lily does like a table of contents at the top of her videos. So today's table of contents is a couple framed finishes, several regular finishes that haven't been fully finished yet, a finish for now, several new starts, and a couple whips, as well as some haul. We'll talk a little bit stitchy organization, and then I'll have some books to share. So before we get into it, today is Friday, August 11th of 2023, just for my own personal record keeping. It helps for me to say that. And yeah, so let's get into it, shall we? Okay, so let's start with a couple framed finishes. So I went to Michael's to get a custom frame built for a larger project that I recently finished. And while I was there, I decided to, if you hear noise, that's my cat. I decided to check through their regular size frames and see if they had anything that worked for any of my other recent finishes, and they did. One moment, Fergus. Say hello. He wants to wreck things right now. Oh no, don't sit on that. Just kidding. Okay, go away. Okay, anyway, I decided to check through their regular stock of standard size frames just to see, and I found a couple. They were buy one, get one free. So basically, I framed these two pieces for really cheap. But the first one I knew would fit in a standard 8x10 was this one. So this is Miss Bingley's Library by Plum Street Samplers. I have been talking about this one all summer because I basically picked this up as a whip and finished it, and now fully finished it in the span of like a month. So I am super, super happy to share this one. If you're looking for more details about things that I changed or about my recharting process for the bottom quote, I talk about that in Flosstube number 28. Anyway, it's the one where I'm holding this as a finish in the thumbnail, so that should be pretty easy for you to find. But I made a few changes, like I said, which included adding an additional row to the quote at the bottom and pulling the coffee cup to the other side of the woman, so everything is in the bounds of the house. And those two things, combined with the size on the 36 count linen, made it a perfect fit in an 8x10 frame. So this is just like a champagne gold frame. I think it works perfectly, but I stitched mine on a 36 count limited edition color and cotton, so you can't get your hands on it. But I did use all the called for, sorry, my cat is going nuts, fancy floss. So called for fancy floss, limited edition 36 count linen, and a few changes, and it fits like a glove in this frame. So I could not be happier with this finish. I love having it displayed now. And yeah, I'll get you a little closer. But I know there are probably a few of you that are tired of me talking about this project. So now that it is fully finished, it will go away until I film my finish parade at the end of the year. So enjoy one last look at Miss Bingley's Library. I love it. I love the way it came out in this frame. So good. Okay, and then like I said, frames are buy one, get one free. So I just grabbed another 8x10. I didn't have any plans for it, but when I got it home, I was pulling out my project roll of finishes, and I found a finish that actually fits kind of perfect in there too. So the second piece that I finished is the Scissor Sampler by Tellin Emblem. So I finished this earlier this year in March, and I'd originally started it back in August of 2022. And I stitched mine on a 32 count Tycho linen by Picture This Plus with all the called for threads. Now this is a little bit more margin than I typically leave on my projects, and it's not completely even between the top and bottom and the sides, but I think it's close enough that you can't really tell. I do frame all of my own pieces. I lace them onto mat board with some batting and then stick them in the frame. Anyway, this one is a gorgeous like brown frame with this gold accenting. And it just looks amazing. The finish is great. It pulls the colors from the piece really well. And you know, one day I might pull this out and actually frame it a bit tighter. But for right now, to pay essentially 20 bucks for 2 frames at the store while I was already there and have 2 framed finishes to show you guys, I'm pretty happy. So that's my other framed finish. And this one is probably one you guys weren't expecting to see. So woohoo! But I just love it. I love it so much. I hope you guys love it. I know there have been a rash of people purchasing this one. I think the only changes I made were I made my initials red and the year 23 in this numerical lineup, because that's the year I finished it, and those are my initials. So that is my finish of the scissor sampler. It is officially framed and now hanging on my wall so I can look at it all day because it is so flippin' stunning. So that's it for fully finishes, just those 2 framed finishes, but woohoo! Okay, so let's talk finishes that are not framed. So I told you guys that I actually went on a trip, probably like the weekend after I last filmed, to Pawhuska, Oklahoma with my mom and my bonus sister. I'll throw a few images. I actually finished a skirt. So I sewed a wrap skirt out of Pioneer Woman fabric. We go to the Pioneer Woman on Food Network. Her mercantile is in Oklahoma, and my mom and my bonus sister and I have been going there on girls trips for like 6 years now. And it's just a nice relaxing time where we get to reset and eat good food and just hang out together. And we went again, and I made a Pioneer Woman skirt. This is my first ever skirt I've ever made. I think I've made a skirt like when I was a kid with my grandma, but this is like my first adult making clothing situation, and I love it. So I had to share that with you guys. That's my only non-cross stitch finish, but yeah, I made a skirt and it's really cute. So on that road trip, I brought along some stitching, of course, and I actually ended up getting a finish on this piece. This is Introverted by Silver Creek Samplers, and I started this on July 8th of 2023. I think it was a new start in my last video, and I finished it on July 30th. So literally the day after we got back from Oklahoma. I had about 11 hours in the car to stitch and work on this. I ended up stitching most of this in hand, aside from a couple things, but I did it on a 20 count Coral Canyon Aida from Colour Cotton with all the called for DMC. This chart is charted in Gentle Arts Fancy Floss. I would go ahead and say don't. Go ahead and do the DMC, it's beautiful, but if you are wanting to splurge on a fancy floss, really just do it for this dark gray. That's the main word, because that's where you're gonna get your most variegation. Everything else, the DMC is stunning on this. So I'll get you in nice and close so you can see it. But it says introverted, but will eagerly discuss everything cross stitch. Oh, I love it. It's so cute. But it was such an easy Aida project. I have no complaints. I love it. And yeah. So I am really happy to have knocked this out. I think I did about 3,500 stitches on this since you've seen it last. I hopefully will have inserted a picture of where I was when you last saw this. But yeah, I think I just had like the intro and I finished verted and the rest of it. And this little thread that runs through there. But yeah, I love it. It's such a cute finish. And feels really good to have knocked out one of my market picks from market of this year. So if you're interested in this chart, definitely go pick it out. I love it. I could not be happier with that finish. Okay, next up is another Silver Creek Samplers finish. This is a surprise finish. So my friend Marjorie of Marjorie Made has started this new whip picking system that's called #PickAWhip. And basically every time she films, she picks a prompt out of a jar and then tries to find a whip in her stash that fits that prompt. So ones in the past have been stitch on a project with birds or stitch on a project with words, which actually, I should say, this was my pick a whip prompt for the last pick a whip, which was pick a project with words. So that was also a pick a whip finish. So this is my second pick a whip finish. Because I got a sneak preview, because I'm friends with Marjorie, of what the prompt that I believe her new Flosstube is uploading today as I'm filming. But basically the prompt is to stitch on a project that starts with the letter O. So she got like, pick an alphabet project, and then she spun like a wheel and it popped up with O. So I was already working on this, spoiler alert, when that popped up, but you know what? Hashtag pick a whip still works. So I finished Olivia Ochreleiph by Silver Creek Samplers. This is a picture of what it looked like in my last whip parade, which is the last time you guys have seen this one. Y'all, she's so cute. Okay, so I had everything done except for the girl and a good chunk of this bottom border down here. So she is stitched on a 32 count vellum linen by Picture This Plus with the called for fancy floss. And I love it. I love it so much. I think she's so stunning. I started this for my friend Alexis for her 4 for 34 birthday style last year. So last August, we started 4 projects with Alexis to celebrate her birthday, and this is the only one I hadn't finished yet. So I am super happy that I got 4 Alexis birthday starts done before her next birthday, which is just in a couple weeks. So, woo! But I love it. I love it so much. So I started it on August 22nd, 2022, and I finished it on August 10th of 2023, so just last night. But I've pretty much been monogamous on this the last week. I haven't really worked on anything else, but I have had a few days where I haven't had any time to stitch, so that's understandable. There was about 3,000 stitches left on her, and so did about 3,000 stitches this week. I'll get you up close so you can see the stunning variegation. And then the only changes I made on this chart, everything is called for, except for down here, there is another acorn right here. I took out the acorn and just used the alphabet in the quote to chart my initials. So that's there. And then I did have to change the date to read 2023. It's not as pretty as the 2017 that's in the chart, but 2 and 3 are chunkier letters than 1 and 7 are. So I did my best, but I love it. I love the way it turned out, and super happy to have knocked this one off of my whip list. So yeah, those are the only 2 Silver Creek samplers that were in my whip stash. So I've now finished all my Silver Creek sampler charts that I own. Oh, so pretty. Okay, yeah, that's that one. So that was my other hashtag pick a whip finish. So go ahead and look through your whip pile, see if you've got anything that starts with the letter O that you want to work on, and yeah, pick a whip. Okay, final finish. This is actually a finish for now. So not a full finish, but you know what? We're gonna count it anyway. Last video in my plans section, I told you guys about the round robin that I'm starting with some of my stitching friends, which there are quite a few round robins going around on Flosstube right now, which is so much fun to see. But my friends and I, okay, ready? Here's the list. Megan the Seattle Stitcher, Marjorie of Marjorie Made, Cam the Stitcher, Alexis of Alexis _ My Amazing World, Elizabeth the Frizzy Lizzy Stitches, and Maddie of Kitty Stitch, and me. That's everybody. We are stitching Quaker Gardens by Hello from Liz Mathews together. And this isn't like a traditional round robin piece. Basically, in a lot of round robins, I think you usually pick one thing to stitch and that's like your thing and you stitch it on everybody's piece. But we're treating this kind of like a sal. So basically by the end of this, you will have stitched the entire chart one time. There's no repetition, so it should be pretty interesting and pretty fun. But we're all picking our own colors, and then next month we'll actually start rotating them around. I have broken it up so that it roughly runs into about 750 stitches every month until you get it back. So this first section was more stitching, and the last section when you get it back will be more stitching. But oh my gosh, you guys, it's so cool. So if you want to go check out their channels, definitely do go see what their colors they've pulled. But this is mine. So I'm stitching mine on a 36 count Bramble linen by Picture This Plus, excuse me, with the floss from Colour Cotton that's called Patchwork. Put this on an Atom Heart floss heart. It's this beautiful like gray purple and Bramble linen. I think I said that already, I don't know. Anyway, we're all doing it on some variation of 36 count linen or 40 count linen. And I love it. I love this chart so much. It is so delicate. It feels like it moves really fast. I'm sitting at about 2,300 stitches finished on this guy. And yeah, so basically there's 7 flowers, 7 little Quaker flowers. And the first one on everyone's piece will be the one they stitch themselves. And then after that, it'll be in whatever order you get it will be the next flower you stitch. And then Elizabeth the Frizzy Lizzie Stitches actually went through and picked little motifs to replace with our initials throughout, so the initials will be scattered. So we're just using the included alphabet up here and stitching your initials over 1. And then I added that cute little heart to fill in some more space. So those are my initials, and that's my Quaker flower. Now, when I pass this around, everyone will still be stitching it with my floss combo, so my piece will come back to me completely monochromatic. But my friend Marjorie is actually going to be letting everyone stitch their flower that they stitch in whatever color floss they picked for their piece. So her piece is gonna have like a brown border, and then all the flowers will be different colors based on what people have chosen. So there are a few blues, I'm doing purple, there's a blue purple variegated, a hot pink, like a gingerbread warm toned color, and whatever Marjorie picked for her flower. I wanna say it's like a light pink. So it's gonna be stunning when they all are finished. And so yeah, finished for now because this is as much as I was supposed to get done before we start mailing them out. So the next time I show this piece on my channel, it will look totally different. I love it, I love it. So this is our round robin Sal situation, and I just think this combo is so good. Like this floss with this fabric, it's like gray. It's like a gray tone, but when you put a purple floss on top of it, it pulls purple. And you can see the variegation in the thread is stunning. What I'm really excited about with this piece is being able to try different floss dyers and different fabric dyers because everyone's working with something different. I know Cam has pulled a Mauve silk, which I'm really excited to stitch with. Maddie's using dinky dyes, which are amazing flosses to stitch with. So is Megan. Elizabeth's just doing DMC, but her fabric is nuts, and it's a Fiberlicious fabric, which I've never used. I'm so excited to stitch with that. Alexis is stitching it with a Bestitch Me silk, which I own some, but I've never actually stitched with them before, so I'm excited about it. I think it's gonna be really fun, and it felt really good to knock that out. So I'm on track to ship mine off next month. Okay, so those are all my finishes. 3 finishes is not bad. I have now finished, I'm not counting Quaker Gardens in this number yet, but I have now finished this year in 2023, 13 things. 12? No, 13. That was Silver Creek Samplers, Olivia Ochreleiph was my 13th finish of the year. So, you know, I don't feel great about my whip number sometimes. I get kind of insecure about it, or I start to get a little overwhelmed. But thinking through the fact that I've actually finished that many things, it helps. So yeah, that's where I'm at there. Okay, so I'm doing no new starts this month, and I am true to my word. It is the 11th day of the month and I have not started anything yet, even though Liz Mathews released this Patreon chart and I'm part of her Patreon, and she really said on the first day of the month that she was going to test me. Not me personally, but how cute is that? Boo Spook Haunt. I do have it kitted up, but I am waiting until September to start it. So you guys, I'm being really good. But I did manage to sneak a few new starts in under the wire of July, since it, you know, it's been a few weeks since I've spoken to you. July was still happening. So I did sneak in a few new starts for the rest of July, and I'm excited to share those with you now. So I started, this was in my kit parade that I recently released, but this is At Home by Brenda Gervais. I talked to you guys in my last Flosstube about the about the fabric that I dyed for this piece, and I love it. It's so beautiful. Although, you know, I really think I missed my excitement window for this piece that I spent so long kitting it up that I didn't really want to work on it anymore when I started it, but I'll get back to it. It's not a big deal. This is a longer term piece anyway, so it's fine. But what did I get done? About 250 stitches, 300 stitches, not a lot. But this is what it looks like. So I'm stitching mine on a 36 count linen that I dyed myself. Show you the big cut. And this is what I got done. So not a lot. Basically, I started in the bottom right corner, which is the opposite of where I normally start. But I did want to try my hand at stitching this in hand a little bit. So I did a little bit of in hand stitching and got a good chunk of the, you know, through line of the border, and then started in on these leaves. And then I just kind of wanted to work on something else, so I did. So all in all, that's probably like a night and a half of stitching. So not very long, but it's not a big start. So that's the fabric. And then I'm stitching this with the Vicky Clayton silk conversion from HDF Silks. I love these so much. And I have them on just my plain frosted thread hearts from Adam Hart Cross Stitch. Oh, aren't these flosses beautiful? I love it. So I will get back to this when the mood strikes again, but for now, not the worst start in the world. I think there are whips in my stash that have a smaller start than this, so that's fine. It'll get done eventually when I want to work on it. That's why I like having a variety of projects, because sometimes you're not in the mood to stitch certain things. So, you know, that's exactly what this is for. But this is in a new acquisition. This project bag is by Little Boat 88 on Etsy. I buy a lot of bags from them. I love them. I love the size. I love the construction. I love the weight. But these little birds, because I knew this was going to be a longer term project, a dedicated project bag seemed like the right move there. And I love it. Okay, let's see. Next new start was, okay, I'm so excited about this one. I'm not even gonna lie. I've been thinking about starting this project for a long time, and I just haven't done it yet. So I finally broke down and did. This is the Mill House by Kathy Barrick. So this was a recent release last year, I believe. And I loved it, but there was, okay, so the minute I saw this chart, there was something I flashed to that I knew I had to do a slight conversion on this. And so okay, if you're an Outlander fan, follow me for a second. If you're not, none of this is a huge spoiler. So, but I know Liz Mathews, you're an Outlander fan. So I want to know if you thought of this when you saw this from your mom. But this chart immediately made me think there is a moment in season 1 of Outlander, or in the first book, when Claire and Jamie are at Lallybroch and they are helping fix a water wheel at the mill house, and redcoat soldiers stumble upon them and Jamie has to go hide in the river, and then he ends up sending his shirt out when the British soldiers volunteer to help fix the wheel so he's not caught. And it's a great moment in the show. I love that moment. And it just, this piece specifically made me immediately think of that. So I am stitching this during Outlander while I watch the next season. And I'm calling this my Lallybroch sampler. I'm going to change the words at the bottom to read Lallybroch 1743, the mill house. I'm going to keep that, but it'll say Lallybroch or Broch Turek. I don't know which one yet. We'll see which one fits better. But yeah, I am going to be changing the stork to be like a giant thistle, because I love in samplers when there's like a giant flower that's like 2 times the size of the house that just doesn't like make sense size-wise or scale-wise. I love that. I think it's so cute. So I'm going to be changing this to be my Lallybroch sampler. Lauren also had the idea of changing some of the stars. I was talking with Lauren, the New Hampshire stitcher, about it, and she had the idea to change some of the stars to be the Fraser clan colors. So I might end up changing them to be the official Outlander tartan colors, because the actual in real life Clan Fraser's colors are like an annoying shade of neon yellow and bright red, and it just doesn't fit with the rest of the sampler. But the show Outlander created a color of tartan for the people in the show. So anyway, if you're not an Outlander fan, I hope that still tracked for you. These are the flosses. I'm using the called for DMC. I might have to add a couple colors for those tartan shades, but we'll see. because they're like a light blue and light grays, but these flosses are beautiful. And this is where I got to. I stitched on this for one day because last week was a break. There was no Outlander episode. So I didn't stitch on this for very long, just like an evening. And I got about 500 something stitches done. But you can see my needle minder is a stack of books. And I'm stitching mine on a 40 count even weave from Be Stitch Me called Not Another Sampler. This is the 40 count for doll. It dyes very differently than the linen of Not Another Sampler, but the color is just about perfect for what I wanted. So got that little owl done. I asked my friend Cam to name him Herb. She named him Herb. So yeah, that's Herb. He is my little start on the Outlander Lallybroch sampler, which is actually just the Millhouse by Kathy Barrick. So long explanation, but I started this on the last Sunday of July, which was July 30th. So basically the minute I finished Introverted by Silver Creek, I pulled this out. Yeah, so those are my flosses. That's my project. That's Herb. I actually popped this up on my Instagram and asked you guys to guess the chart, and every single person except one guessed that this was 100 Owls by Owl Forest Embroidery. So good job, Owl Forest Embroidery. You have definitely cornered the market on charts with owls, because that's what everyone guessed. But yeah, he's so cute. And next I'll be focusing, he's sitting on top of like a berry basket. So that'll be what's up next. And I'm keeping this in one of my favorite project bags ever from the Forbidden Fiber Company. This was their Outlander project bag from their Outlander mini kit last year. And it has the Skyboat song on it, and it's just beautiful. So that's my Outlander Sunday stitch during Outlander episodes on Sundays, which we're coming up on the mid-season finale, and I'm terrified. But it's fine, it's fine. Okay, one more snart that I snuck in under the wire of July, and this one's also in a Little Boat 88 project bag, but this one is really fun. This is a stitch along that is being hosted by Katie of So Tattered and Olivia of Pumpkin Hollow Quilts Words, and this is Jack's Bash by Plum Street Samplers. I love this chart. My friend Megan received it as a present, and then she was gonna stitch it, and I was like, well, if Megan's starting it and I like it, I better start it with Megan. So I didn't have any of the call for flosses. So I ended up going to my L&S, which is the Stitch Niche in Arlington, and they were almost out of Gentle Arts. So I was talking to the owner, and she actually stopped everything she was doing, and she put together a conversion for me, and I love it. So I'm stitching mine with my L&S conversion to a few flosses. I will post this on my Instagram when I post an update. The only floss that I'm gonna end up subbing out of my L&S conversion is this one, Chocolate Mousse. This is the border color, and this one's called to be Gentle Arts Walnut, and I ended up just getting a skein. You can see how different they are. Walnut has these gray bits that I felt was really important to have. So I'll be swapping that out for the called for, but everything else is my L&S conversion, which is stunning. So let me show you where I got to on this one. I am stitching this on a 36 count Millstone linen by LFA Linens. So shout out to Rachel of Treehouse Fiber Arts and Sue of LFA Linens. I have been wanting to get my hands on LFA linen for forever because Carrie of Tiger Lily talks about them all the time, and I'm so happy I did. This linen is stunning. So it's not a huge cut of it just because it's a smaller piece, but holy cow. So I'm stitching mine 1/2 on this gorgeous Millstone linen, and I got about 575 stitches done. How pretty. 1/2, like I said. So I'll be frogging this line because that should be walnut, and I stitched it in the chocolate mousse color that I was using. So I'll be frogging that and going, but I got that black house done and that first flower on the border. Oh, so beautiful. So let me tell you about a couple changes I'm making to this chart. So I love this chart, but there was one row, here's the cover image, in the cover image that I didn't love, and that was that middle row underneath the alphabet of the people and the trees. It's just not my style, and I am very much a big fan of the Lori Holt saying of be the boss of your own quilt, and I apply that to my cross stitch. So I'm the boss of my own cross stitch. I'll change what I want to change, and yeah. That's called personal preference. So I decided to kind of mess with the charting and see if I could get a version of it that didn't have that middle border and just kind of shrink it down. And I did. So this is the mock-up that I'll be following. I think it looks pretty good. I just had to take about one pumpkin off of one side and one flower off of the other and kind of move things around in that floral border. Other than that, it shrunk down really easy. So yeah, that's my start, and that is my plan for this one. So it took out about 2,000 or so stitches from the overall chart, and yeah. So if you guys are interested, go check out the starters of that hashtag. I don't know the actual hashtag, I'll have to look it up, but I will be photographing and posting my progress update on this later today on Instagram. But yeah, the coverage 1/2 on this millstone linen is fantastic. Could not be happier with that last little start I snuck in. And let me just go ahead and show you while I'm talking about my LNS what else I got while I was there. And this is a purchase responsible by Lauren, the New Hampshire stitcher. She's been stitching this Birds of a Feather by Blackbird since it was recently re-released, and so I went ahead and picked up the chart while I was there because it is gorgeous. Okay, so that's new starts. I only have 2 whips to share because I pretty much just focused these last few weeks on my new starts and on those couple of finishes that I had. So not a whole lot of other stitching got done, but I did work some on the Greenhouse of Oddities. Unfortunately, with today's Friday release, I am now 3 parts behind, but it's fine. But this is what I've done. It looks the exact same except for the middle giant flower, this one right here. But I'm stitching mine with all the called for DMC on a 40 count dovetail linen by Forbidden Fiber Co. So basically the parts that I need to finish are this like skeleton bench, and then there is Darwin and some like strawberry shaped planters with some like legendary flowers. But my only thing is I don't love Darwin, or I think it's George Washington Carver is the other option. I don't love them. I think they're a little creepy. So I am going to wait and see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and stitch this bench over here, and then I'm going to hold off and see about maybe changing some charting myself just to erase the people. My whole thing with this stitch along is I didn't want more people because I just don't love the way people look in cross stitch. I love the artist. I think she's beautiful, but I just wanted more plants. So we'll see. I'm putting this one on a bit of a timeout. I'm also just getting a little bored of stitching on it, if we're being realistic. So anyway, this project is going into timeout for a little bit just because I think I want to make some changes just to suit my personal preference. We've only got a couple more weeks until it's done, so I do need to finish it because there's quite a bit of DMC tied up in this bag, but it's fine. So if you're looking for more in-depth information on that one, I've talked a lot about this on my channel over the past few months, so check out past Flosstubes if you want to be a little bit more in-depth. Okay, and then the final project that I worked on is my Summer Quakers by Rosewood Manor. And this is a stitch along that I'm doing with my sweet, sweet friends Megan and Alexis here on Flosstube. I've already talked about them throughout this video, but essentially I just love them so much. This is a picture of what it looked like last time. I don't know that I got a whole lot done. I think maybe in total about 500 stitches. I know I was focusing quite a bit on the flower motif in the center with the bees. So let me show you. This is what it looks like now. I'm stitching mine on a 28 count coastal linen by Picture This Plus with all the called for Valdani threads, and she's stunning. So I did get a good chunk of that bee motif finished, and that is my goal. I want to have this motif finished by the end of the summer, and then I'll be happy. But I have hit about, I think, the 40% mark. That doesn't include the Algerian eyelet alphabet at the bottom. That's just the full crosses, so a little bit more work actually than that, but she's stunning. I did end up putting my threads in this Paco thread organizer that I showed you guys last time, and it has been helping a lot. It looks a little ratty, but you know, it's working for me. I really like it so far. Yeah, so that's an update on that stitchy tool. I will give a more in-depth update next time, but starting to run a little long on this video, and I still have some things I purchased to share with you and some books. Okay, so I have a couple books. I have a couple purchases, and we'll talk some cross-stitch organization for a second. But my Colour and Cotton thread of the month for August came in. These are the classic collection colors. You have Black Walnut, which I'm actually using in a project right now. My bookcase by Galliana Cross Stitch. Powder Blue and Spruce. Lovely colors. So this is from their permanent line, and I love that. And the special edition colors that I get this month were Cilantro, Pumpkin Spice, and Curry. Beautiful colors. So happy with those. I did get in a couple DMCs. These are DMCs for my choice for the hashtag back to school sale that my friend Lauren, the New Hampshire Stitcher, is hosting next month. So the chart I'm gonna be doing is in the Butterfly's Garden. I already own the chart. I just needed to grab the DMC. It's charted in DMC, makes it super easy, and I'm just going to dedicate an entire skein to this project. Since it is so big, it's probably gonna be pretty long term, so I need to get these pre-cut and on some Adam Hart thread hearts or thread bobbins. Yeah, I can't wait to stitch this. I have had this chart on my wish list for about a year, and this is the perfect occasion because it's like 260 by 322. So love that. So I got the DMCs for those. Super cheap to kit this chart up. Love that. Okay, then I got a couple fabrics. First of all, I got some fabrics from Jackson Fiber Arts, which my friend Megan talks about them all the time. They dye 32 count hemp linen. This is the color London Fog. Isn't that beautiful? I think actually Autumn Queen by Mira would look really pretty on her as well. So that's lovely. And then they always send a scrap of like a tester color. So this is Burnt Sienna by them. Beautiful. And then the other piece of fabric I got for them is actually for an upcoming stitch along. So my friend Alexis of Alexis_My Amazing World and I are going to be stitching a Mira together because she reached out and was like, we should stitch one together. And I was like, that's a great idea. So we looked through our stash and we were both interested in Ophelia. So this is Ophelia. This is a pretty recent release, I want to say, but she's not one of the hugest ones, which is nice. So she is beautiful. So we're gonna stitch her together. So I have all the call for DMC and beads for her and just a couple silks. She's pretty easy to kit up. But the fabric that I'm doing her on is this. This is Galway. Yes, Galway 32 count hemp linen by Jackson Fabric Arts. Fabric Arts, sorry if I said that wrong, on Etsy. It is the most beautiful deep teal. It's a little bit greenier in person, but she's charted on this green fabric, which is pretty. But the original story of Ophelia in the Shakespeare is that she drowns in a river. And so I wanted it to be kind of like a deep, moody river color. And so yeah, that is the fabric I'm going with. I'm super excited about it. I guess you can kind of see how much more green it is here. And then I went ahead and actually pre-cut all of my DMC already. We're gonna be starting her on the fall equinox this year, which I believe is September 23rd. It's that Saturday. But these are all of my DMCs. I went ahead and pre-cut them all and wound them on my Adam Hart floss bobbins, and I stuck them in this modified Project Keeper from Tiger Lily Designs. I will have her shop linked down here so you can make one of these yourself or go buy one straight from her. But I will say the one modification, if you're using the Carrie's Project Keeper pattern, the one alteration that you'll need to do if you're using Adam Hart floss bobbins, you'll need to add about 1/8 of an inch to every bobbin pocket just because these are bigger than the DMC bobbins. And the reason I love these is you can unwind them and your floss is pre-cut. This is what the bobbins look like. And then you have this little slit here for all your odds and end threads, and then you just wind it back up and keep stitching. So you can store them like bobbins, all of those good things. And these are like a limited edition colorway because this will be a longer term project. And then I just stick them in the slots of this Project Keeper. It keeps everything neat and tidy. When there's 39 called for colors, I was able to do my Karen Water Lily silks the same way. But yeah, these are gorgeous DMCs. So yeah, that's my one thing. Make sure you're gonna add just a little bit of width to your whole project keeper in order to add a little bit extra on your bobbin slots, just because the Adam Hart ones are a little chunkier. And I think the same would go for the pip and chip bobbins, because they're a little bit bigger than the DMC ones. But that's all my floss for this project ready to go. So we're a ways off of starting, but I'm prepped, which I really like. Speaking of Adam Hart, I did buy a couple of floss drops. They released new colors. Jackie is amazing. And so I bought some of the, was it pink glitter, pink stardust? I don't know what they're called, cosmic pink. But how Barbie-licious are these? So I got 2 packs of the thread hearts in this pink glitter color because they're stunning. Now this is the last month that my coupon code with Adam Hart cross stitch is good. So if you're looking to save some money, use code MUSEUM15 when you're checking out. I don't get any kickback from it. It's just a code for you. So please go take advantage of it before the start of September, because these are stunning. And then because Jackie is the best, she threw in some of her other color. I didn't purchase these, she just threw them in. These are the, what are they called? Ocean something? Anyway, they're beautiful blue-green floss hearts. And then I got a couple bags of her regular frosted thread bobbins. She has upgraded those since I last purchased them, and they are stunning. So I am working, this is the other like floss and organization announcement talk that we're gonna have, but I decided to finally bite the bullet and start converting my full DMC master set that I have about half of. I'm working on a DMC master set onto the Adam Hart thread bobbins. So I got my sticker from her on my first box. I converted my first 2 bobbin boxes, 2.5 bobbin boxes onto these. This is what it looks like. So these are the Adam Hart floss bobbins like I just showed you. And then I use them in conjunction with the Pip and Chip labels, mini DMC labels, which fit on there perfectly. So everything is organized. I can fit about 5 bobbins perfectly with almost no rattling. The rattling is from the ones that aren't full, because I have a few of these in projects. But look how clean and organized my DMC looks. Okay, so what I had before were these bobbins that I bought from a company on Etsy. These are fantastic bobbins. I have no issues with the quality of these. However, you can see they don't have these slots on the side, and these slits are only wide enough for 1 strand of DMC. So if you're someone who bobbinates and you stitch from bobbinated floss, you'll love these. But I am going to be finishing up my master set, and then I will have a full set of these bobbins. So if you're interested in purchasing these bobbins from me, I will have more information about that when I finally get them all converted. But yeah, so I went from having white labels on bobbins, and then I would have to pre-cut my floss and then kind of wind it badly on this because it didn't have a space for me to wind correctly. And then every time I kitted up a project, I'd have to pull these off of these and tie them onto floss drops. And then when I finished a project, I have to pull them off the floss drop and tie them back on these. It was just a lot of effort to kit things up with DMC. So I'm loving this because with this method, now all I have to do is just grab it out of the box and put it on a ring. And then I might have to have a couple extra bobbins for projects that have the same color in multiple projects. But it'll be really easy to recognize which bobbin is the master set bobbin because it will have the Pip and Chip label on it. So highly recommend the combo of the Adam Hart floss bobbin with the Pip and Chip DMC mini labels. I'm actually working on a dedicated video to me converting my entire DMC stash over to these and talking about how I organize threads and how I kit up charts with DMC. So more on these will be coming, but I did want to let you know that I started and I could not be happier with the way these are looking. It's so clean. They look so good. Okay, and then I did buy something from Evertote. They have this amazing conversion for this project, which is Rosewood Manor Turkish Delight. Now, this chart doesn't look like me at all, and you'd be correct, but I'm gonna insert a picture here. Carrie, the dyer behind Roxy Floss Co. has been doing a conversion of Turkish Delight by Rosewood Manor, and I love it. I am obsessed with it. So I bought some 36 count porcelain linen by Roxy Floss, and the Roxy Flossco color conversion for this. Oh, it's so beautiful. The pink and the teals. It's gonna be amazing. I can't wait to start it one day. I know Alexis bought the conversion as well, and Cam did her own stash conversion, so we'll have to start that together. And then I saw this bag and I had to get it because I love Evertote's bags. So usually my like big Roxy Flossco conversions live in an Evertote bag because it just ships like this and I love it. Okay, and then I did buy a couple other project bags. Like when I bought that other Little Boat 88 bag, I love this bag. This is Tula Pink. This is her newest like Ferocious Beasts line, but my mom's maiden name is Lion, and so I grew up with a lot of lion stuff all the way around me. It reminds me of my grandfather, and I just had to have a print with these amazing floral lions. I know he would love this, so yeah, had to buy that. And then the bag I went on to buy was this one because this is a discontinued Tula Pink fabric, so you can't get your hands on this. Fergus. Anyway, I wanted some of these vintage Tula Pink sewing machines. Look at the little foot pedal. And the inside fabric is this gorgeous like confetti color. So I did buy those project bags as well because if I'm gonna buy from Canada, I'm gonna get a couple things. Yes, I love those lions, so good. Okay, and then I got a couple of fabrics from Be Stitch Me, and that's it. I promise haul is almost over. But I got my fabric of the month for this month, which is lightly salted, not roasted. Gorgeous neutral. I do 40 count linen from them. And then there were some fabrics in the ready to ship section that I wanted to grab, so I did. This is Blush, 36 count linen. Then I got Cold Foam in a 40 count linen. How cool is this fabric? Fergus. I also got that same Cold Foam fabric in a 20 count Aida because I could. Oh, it's beautiful. And finally, I got a 40 count cut of Not Another Sampler linen. I figured this might be perfect for the Birds of a Feather by Blackbird. If not, it'll be perfect for something because it's just a perfect neutral fabric. And that is everything. I did also want to give a shout out to my StitchCon bag. I got this bag at StitchCon. They filled it with a bunch of freebies and things, but my friend Megan has been using it to like carry her stitching from her stitching spot in her living room to her bedroom / keep track of all the projects she's worked on since her last Flosstube video. And it is perfect for that. It's a game changer. It holds like 6 projects. And so now basically after I film this, I'm gonna go fill this with what I wanna work on in the next few weeks and just pull from this bag. So shout out to Megan, you're a genius. It's working really well for me. Okay, so let me get my thoughts together for book talk. But if you are not here to talk about books, I hope that you had a great time, that you will like and subscribe and follow along on my stitchy journey from here on out. I would love to have you, and I will see you next time in a couple weeks with another Flosstube video. But if not, if you're sticking around for books, I'm going to pause and gather my thoughts and come back. So let's talk books, and if not, I'll see you next time. Okay, welcome back for book talk. I don't have a whole lot of books to share with you today. It's been kind of a slower reading few weeks for me. I don't know if I've just haven't been reading the right books. I'm gonna say that's probably it, but you know, sometimes you just have those weeks where you read less, and that's fine. But I have, I think, 3 books, and I'll give you a sneak peek of what I'm currently reading. So first book I read was The House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. This is the first in a duology, although I don't think the second book is actually part of the same, following the same character. I think it follows a different character, which I didn't quite know. But this is a dark fantasy retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses. So you follow this like coastal town, it's very fantasy setting, and it opens on a funeral. So these sisters their sister has died. There's like 12 of them, and this is like death number 3. And so everyone thinks their family's cursed. Their father just remarried. And you follow our main girl as she thinks she's going crazy. And you end up finding out like there's a whole lot of ties to the original story, which for me is Barbie, because I grew up with Barbie and the 12 Dancing Princesses. So I I enjoyed it. I don't think it was like the best book I've ever read, but the dark fantasy element is definitely there. There's some like, oh, that's gross scenes. But it really does, like, if you don't enjoy your character kind of being an unreliable narrator and kind of thinking she's going insane a little bit and not being believed by the people around her, if that's something that bothers you, this is not going to be the book for you. But I think I would rate it probably like a 3.75 out of 5. I enjoyed it. It was good. It just wasn't like incredible, but I think I will read the second one just because I want to know what's going on. I think it follows the youngest sister, who's just like a kid in this one. But yeah, pretty good dark fantasy retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses. I love fantasy retellings of fairy tales, and this isn't one that's usually focused on. Like, you know, there's a lot of Cinderellas, a lot of Snow Whites. But yeah, this was just kind of a different one. I love the cover though. The second book I read, this book was hard. This is called A Fate of Wrath and Flame by K.A. Tucker. This is the first in a series. And this book made me feel like I was losing my mind a little bit. Like I could not get into it, but I finally finished it. So let me tell you about it. So this follows Romaria. The intonation is a little bit different. But she is a modern woman, and she's a pickpocket and a thief. And she works for a mob boss. And then one day, this woman who is a witch shows up and basically kills the mob boss and tells Romaria that she needs her to help save her husband. So they go to this weird castle in Prague, and Romaria ends up getting stabbed with a horn and wakes up in the body of someone who has just died, who is her but not her, in a fantasy world where there's 2 moons in the sky, and she just assassinated the king and queen of this realm. And so she is trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And so at the beginning, you're like, okay, she's going into this portal dimension to help save Sophie's husband, who's been trapped there by like an evil demon guy. But that's never touched on again. So it's just her finding her footing in this fantasy world as a modern person, but also her evil doppelganger who had passed away, whose body she's living in, was like a bad person and was engaged to the king, the current king, whose parents she killed. It's hard. It's weird. It's hard to follow. And then by the end of it, you're like, but we didn't even cover the base thing of her finding Sophie's husband and doing this quest. Like, it turns into a whole different thing. I didn't like it. There is a part of me that wants to keep reading it just to see what ends up happening. And if we address that initial plot point that's introduced at the beginning, it just wasn't for me. I didn't like it at all. So it took me like, I want to say like 11 days to read that book. And I don't take that long with books normally. Like, it just, like, I could not get through it fast enough, which was just frustrating. So then I read The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. This is a pretty popular book. It's a Reese's book club pick. It was my friend's choice for our book club, and it is a thriller. So it's just been adapted into a TV show, I think. I thought it was fine, but basically we follow a woman, and she is married and she has a stepdaughter, and one day her husband sends a note through like a random kid who plays soccer that just says protect her, and he disappears. And so it's her and her stepdaughter trying to figure out what the hell happened to her husband and her stepdaughter's father. And it actually takes place in Austin a lot, which is interesting. I really liked the beginning of the book, but the ending kind of didn't do it for me. Like, the reveal of what happened and then the character's choice at the end didn't really make sense to me. I didn't really enjoy that, but it wasn't a bad book. Like, it was a good book. It was just like the twist wasn't great. And then the very end, it was like, why would they make that decision? That doesn't make any kind of sense, even though it like tells you why she did it. I don't know that I believe it. So anyway, it was pretty good. If you're looking for like a light thriller, for someone who doesn't read thrillers, it read a little bit thrillery, but it's not like super scary. It's not super freaky. It's more of like a mystery, like a women's lit mystery. That's probably how I would describe it. But if you're interested in it, definitely go check it out. And then the book I'm reading, I think is going to be a 5-star. This is The Appeal by Janice Hallett. I love it. It's a murder mystery, but it's told entirely through communication. So it's told through emails and text messages, and you're reading from the perspective of 2 law students or 2 like paralegals who have been given these case files and have been told to try and figure out what happened through the evidence they have. So you're like reading through the lens of 2 people reading these things. And so you're missing a lot of the plot, but you're getting a lot of it just through messages. So you're having to piece it together through what you're reading. It's really interesting. It's really good. And I just got to the murdery part. So I am trying to figure out who done it. And I don't know that I have an idea yet, but there's like a scam, a medical scam, Kickstarter scam involved as well. And it's just really interesting. So I will give you my full thoughts on that one in just a little bit. But that is everything I have to share with you today. So I hope that you stuck with me. If you stuck through the end of book talk, go ahead and leave me any kind of flower emoji, and I'll know that you made it to the end of this one. Hopefully it's not too long. But as far as that goes, I don't really have any other plans right now. I know it's arbitrary August for a lot of people, so I'm just gonna stitch what I wanna stitch, and we'll see what happens in the next few weeks when I come back to talk to you. So I'm gonna go have dinner and go hang out with my friend, maybe go see Barbie this weekend. We'll see. But I hope you guys have an amazing couple weeks. Happy stitching. Let me know what you're stitching, what you're up to, and I'll see you next time. Bye.